Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhakta Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Text number 39 onwards. Aste sthanur ivekatra divyam varsha shatam sthira Vasudeve Bhagavati Nanya Vedodvahan Ratim. In this way, he stayed immovable in one place for 100 years by the calculations of the demigods. After this time, he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and remained fixed in that position. Bahunam Janmanamante. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is everything. And one who knows this is the greatest of all transcendentalists. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one realizes this after many, many births. This is also confirmed in this verse with the words Divya Varsha Shatam, 100 years according to the calculations of the demigods. So according to the calculation of demigods, 1 day or 12 hours equals to 6 months on earth. 100 years of the demigods would equal 36,000 earthly years. Thus King Maladhvaj executed austerities and penances for 36,000 years. After this time, he became fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. To live on the earth for so many years, one has to take birth many times. This confirms the conclusion of Krishna. To come to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness and remain fixed in the realization that Krishna is everything as well as render service unto him are characteristics of the perfectional stage. As said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kritaya. When one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is everything by worshipping him or by rendering devotional service unto him, one actually becomes perfect in all respects. Not only must one come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything, but he must remain fixed in this realization. This is the highest perfection of life, and it is this perfection that King Maladhvaj attained at the end. So he performed tapasya, he remained immovable in one place for 100 demigod years or 36,000 earthly years. And then he developed pure devotional service for Krishna, pure devotional attraction for Krishna. And this is what Prabhupada is saying, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births and deaths, he is actually knowledge surrenders unto me. So bhakti is not a process of one lifetime, actually. Or coming on the platform of bhakti is also not a process of one lifetime. It can go on for many, many lifetimes, and us doing so many other activities before we got a chance to come to the platform or come in the association of a devotee. And then even after coming in the association, it's difficult for somebody to take up the process and then take up the process seriously, sincerely, and then continue on with the process, carry on with it. It's not that easy. By mercy of Prabhupada and his followers, of course, we've been given this opportunity to somehow come in contact with the process and take up the process. But to take it up seriously and take it up all the way to the perfection, on our own, it's very difficult. By mercy of Prabhupada and devotees, there is some possibility. But other than that, come to the platform of bhakti is very, very rare, very rare. That's what Krishna himself says, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. So Mahatma Sudurlabha, it's very rare. Savyapakatayatmanam Vyatiriktayatmani Vidvan Swapna Ivamarsha Sakshinam Viraramaha. King Malayadhwaj attained perfect knowledge by being able to distinguish the super soul from the individual soul. The individual soul is localized, whereas a super soul is all pervasive. He became perfect in knowledge that the material body is not the soul, but that the soul is a witness of the material body. The conditioned soul is often frustrated in trying to understand the distinctions between the material body, the super soul, and the individual soul. There are two types of Mayavadi philosophers, the followers of the Buddhist philosophy and the followers of the Shankar philosophy. The followers of Buddha do not recognize that there is anything beyond the body. Followers of Shankara conclude that there is no separate existence for Paramatma, the super soul. The Shankarites believe that the individual soul is identical with the Paramatma in the ultimate analysis. But the Vaishnava philosopher, who is perfect in knowledge, knows that the body is made of external element, energy, and that the super soul, the Paramatma, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is sitting with the individual soul and is distinct from him. Ocean of Bharat, you should know that I am also the knower in all the bodies. And to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. The body is taken to be the field and the individual soul is taken to be the worker in the field. Yet there is another who is known as a super soul, who along with the individual soul simply witnesses. The individual soul works and enjoys the fruits of the body, whereas the super soul simply witnesses the activities of the individual soul, but does not enjoy the fruits of those activities. The super soul is present in every field of activity, whereas the individual soul is present in his one localized body. King Malayadhwaj attained this perfection of knowledge and was able to distinguish between the soul and the super soul and the soul and the material body. So this is a perfection of knowledge when we understand everything what it is. But like Prabhupada said, Mayavadi philosophy, they don't understand. They think soul and super soul is the same. But here in the shloka it is said, he became perfect in knowledge that the material body is not the soul, and the soul is a witness of the material body, and the individual and the super soul is also there. Sakshat Bhagavatoktena Guruna Harana Nrip Vishuddha Jnana Deepena Surata Vishvato Mukham. In this way, King Malayadhwaj attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state, he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. So we know who King Malayadhwaj is, right? So Malayadhwaj, he's the one who married the daughter of Vidarbhi, right? The beautiful black-eyed daughter. And then he had 7 sons, and he gave all the kingdom to the 7 sons and went for tapasya along with his wife. So now in the tapasya at Kulachal, he is attaining perfection. In this verse, the words Sakshat Bhagavato Ne Uktena Garuna Harina are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead speaks directly to the individual soul when the devotee has completely purified himself by rendering devotional service to the Lord. Lord Krishna confirms this also in Bhagavad Gita. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The Lord is a super soul seated in everyone's heart, and he acts as a Jati Guru, the spiritual master within. However, he gives direct instructions only to the advanced pure devotees. In the beginning, when a devotee is serious and sincere, Lord gives him directions from within to approach a bona fide spiritual master. When one is trained by the spiritual master according to the regulative principles of devotion service and is situated on the platform of spontaneous attachment for the Lord, Raga Bhakti, the Lord also gives instructions from within. Desham Tatatyuktanam Bhajtam Priti Purvakam. This distinct advantage is obtained by a liberated soul. Having attained this stage, King Maladhwaj was directly in contact with the Supreme Lord and was receiving instructions from him directly. So he came to that level of perfection that Lord was giving him the instructions directly. So why? Because he was completely purified in his consciousness, and he also knew the difference between soul, super soul, this body, and he was directly perceiving the presence of the Lord. So then he was receiving the instructions. Pare Brahmani Chatmanam Param Brahma Tathatmani Vikshamano Vihayeksham Asmat Upaparaham. King Maladhwaj could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side, and that he as an individual soul was sitting by the side of the super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interests. Thus he ceased from such activities. In the advanced stage of devotional service, the devotee does not see anything separate between his own interests and those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Both interests become one. For the devotees does not act for a separate interest. Whatever he does in the interest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, he sees everything in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything. See, that's a perfect vision. He sees everything in Krishna and Krishna in everything. Having attained this stage of understanding, he sees no distinction between the spiritual and material worlds. In perfect vision, the material world becomes a spiritual world due to its being the external energy of the Supreme Lord. For every devotee, the energy and the energetic are non-different. Thus, the so-called material world becomes spiritual. Sarvam Khalam and Ido Brahma. Everything is intended for the service of the Supreme Lord, and the expert devotee can utilize any so-called material thing for the Lord's service. One cannot serve the Lord without being situated on the spiritual platform. Thus, if so-called material thing is dovetailed in the service of the Lord, it is no longer to be considered material. Thus, a pure devotee in his perfect vision sees from all angles. That was actually the vision of Srila Prabhupada. Wherever he went, whatever he did, he was never separated from Krishna, because he could see Krishna everywhere, Krishna's hands everywhere, Krishna's energy everywhere, and he could relate everything with Krishna. There was once, he used to go to morning walk every morning. So he was on his morning walk along with disciples. And if you see his videos of morning walk, he would always have this walking cane with him, stick with him. And he would talk to his disciples, and sometimes he would chant, but mostly he would answer their questions. So once he was on his morning walk, and it was around this time only, this time of the season. It was little cold. So there would be some water on the grass or under the tree, and there would be some thin layer of ice on that water. And he would go and he would, with his cane, he would tap on the ice and break the ice and then go again. And then again he would find some puddle of water and then he would again tap and break the ice. And devotees could not realize what he was doing. Well, one thing, so later on somebody asked, Prabhupada, what do we have to learn from this, or something like that? So two things he mentioned. One was, I'm breaking this ice, so I want to release the conditioned souls even from under the ice. And one more thing he suggested was, he said, see, under the tree, near the root of the tree, there is no ice. The water is as it is. But if you go a little bit outside, away from the tree, there is ice. The water has turned into ice. So the devotees were looking at him, yeah, we saw it, but what does it mean? Then he would say, see, that is why six Goswamis would sleep at night under the shade of the tree, because they would feel warmth. It remains warm under the tree. See, he was thinking of 6 Goswamis living in Vrindavan while walking in, maybe it was in New York or some other place. And he was thinking of that. And then another time he talked about this layer of ice and under it the water remains. And he said, you know why it is? And obviously devotees try to answer by their scientific knowledge. He said, so that even in the lake, when there's a layer of ice is formed, but underneath the water is there as it is, there's no problem with water. So that fishes can survive in the water. They will not survive in the ice. So this is Krishna's arrangement. Even in this cold weather, he has made arrangement for the fishes to survive. See, so that way he could see Krishna's hands everywhere. He could see Krishna's presence everywhere. So that kind of vision we have to develop. Text 43. Patim parma dharmagyam vedarbhi malay bhajam premna pare charadhatva bhogan sapati devata. The daughter of King Vidarbha accepted her husband all in all as a supreme. She gave up all sensual enjoyment and in complete renunciation followed the principles of her husband, who was so advanced that she remained engaged in his service. Figuratively, King Maledhvaj is a spiritual master and his wife Vedarbhi is a disciple. The disciple accepts the spiritual master as a supreme personality of Godhead, as stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Guru Ashtaka, Sakshad Ritvena. One simply accepts the Guru, the spiritual master, as a supreme personality of Godhead. One should accept a spiritual master not in the sense that the Mayavadi philosophers do, but in the way recommended here. Since a spiritual master is the most confidential servant of the Lord, he should be treated exactly like the supreme personality of Godhead. The spiritual master should never be neglected or disobeyed like an ordinary person. If a woman is fortunate enough to be the wife of a pure devotee, she can serve her husband without any desire for sense gratification. If she remains engaged in the service of her exalted husband, she will automatically attain the spiritual perfections of her husband. If a disciple gets a bona fide spiritual master simply by satisfying him, he can attain a similar opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the perfection one attains by serving the spiritual master properly, honestly, diligently. Because a bona fide spiritual master is the most confidential servant of the Lord. And he should be treated exactly like the Supreme Personality of God. And Prabhupada writes for a woman also, if she is fortunate enough to be the wife of a pure devotee, and if she serves her husband without any desire for sense gratification, she can automatically attain the supreme perfection. But that's very ideal situation. Chirvasa vritakshama veni bhuta shiroruha babhava patim shanta shikha shantam ivanalam. The daughter of King Vidarbha wore old garments, and she was lean and thin because of her vows of austerity. Since she did not arrange her hair, it became entangled and twisted in locks. Although she remained always near her husband, she was as silent and unagitated as a flame of an undisturbed fire. When one begins to burn firewood, there is smoke and agitation in the beginning, although there are so many disturbances in the beginning. Once the fire is completely set, the firewood burns steadily. Similarly, when both husband and wife follow the regulative principles of austerity, they remain silent and are not agitated by sex impulses. At such a time, both husband and wife are benefited spiritually. One can attain this stage of life by completely giving up a luxurious mode of life. In this verse, the word Chiravasa refers to very old torn garments. The wife especially should remain austere, not desiring luxurious dresses and living standards. She should accept only the bare necessities of life and minimize her eating and sleeping. There should be no question of mating. Simply by engaging in the service of her exalted husband, who must be a pure devotee, the wife will never be agitated by sex impulses. The Vanprastha stage is exactly like this. Although the wife remains with the husband, she undergoes severe austerities and penances, so that although both husband and wife live together, there is no question of sex. In this way, both husband and wife can live together perpetually. Since the wife is weaker than the husband, this weakness is expressed in this verse words, upapatim. Upa means near to and almost equal to. Being a man, the husband is generally more advanced than his wife. So generally, but not always. Nonetheless, the wife is expected to give up all luxurious habits. She should not even dress nicely or comb her hair. Hair combing is one of the main businesses of women. In the Vanprastha stage, the wife should not take care of her hair. Thus, her hair will become entangled in knots. Consequently, the wife will no longer be attractive to the husband, and she herself will no longer be agitated by sex impulses. In this way, both husband and wife can advance in spiritual consciousness. This advanced stage is called the Paramhansa stage, and once it is obtained, both husband and wife can be actually liberated from bodily consciousness. If the disciple remains steady in service of the spiritual master, he no longer fears falling down into the clutches of Maya. So very, very strong instructions by Prabhupada for all of us to follow to the best possible extent we can. But again and again, the point comes to the not even desiring to enjoy this sex life. So one has to be, of course, our process is not undergoing some austerities. Our process is to engage in devotional service to develop higher taste so that the lower taste automatically or slowly, gradually, it just goes away. Even though the desires, because of a previous, because of past sanskaras, the desires will be there. But slowly, when we don't, just like once, I think Prabhupada said, the itch is there, but don't scratch it. So it will go away. Slowly, it will just settle down. So that's a stage we need, because our process is not the austerities. Our process is to engage in the service, to give some positive and nice, blissful experience to the senses. So they eventually they give up all these ideas, other ideas. But anyway, nice story goes on of Maledhwaj and Vedarvi. And then we'll continue tomorrow. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Guruji, Dhanutna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I heard one story of Virochan, who was the son of Prahlad Maharaj.
Okay.
And he was killed by Indra. And we were wondering why Virochan became a demon when he was the son of Prahlad Maharaj. He should be devotee, isn't it?
Well, you know the story of Bhaumasura?
The one who was killed by Krishna.
Yeah, but whose son he was?
I don't know.
He was son of Lord Varahadev. When Varahadev was bringing Mother Earth back from the under the water, Garbha water, and he brought Earth back and established her in the position. So by that time, because of their contact only, the son Bhaumasura was born. But later on, because of bad association, he became an Asura. And Krishna himself killed him. So anything can happen.
Okay, Prabhuji, that answers, bad associations.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the whole story of Virochan. Maybe in Bhagavatam it will come later on. I don't know yet. But then he had the son Bali Maharaj, who became another great devotee.
Yes.
But yes, with a bad association, even a good person can become bad. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai Shri Krishna Prabhuji.